Hi guys, this is Ayushi. We are back with Dr. Demarla to discuss children's mental health issues. Why is it important to address children's mental health issues at an early age?
So it is very important to address, meaning detect and intervene very early with respect to a child's mental health. Child's brain is maturing, is growing very rapid pace. And I think it's important for certain critical things to happen at a certain time. For example, if child has autism spectrum disorder, it starts before the age of 3. And if parents catch it early that there is a problem with the speech or in the manner in which the kid interacts with others, that is detected early by the parent and the necessary help is instituted right away, there are certain kinds of improvements that can happen sooner. Similarly with other mental health disorders too, such as ADHD, then the child's adjustment and development tends to be a little earlier, and that can give them head start in terms of being able to function normally, being able to derive the benefits of their school environment, play environment, and so on and so forth. In general, earlier the better is definitely a good principle to apply here. However, I must also emphasize that it's better late than never.
So Dr. Demarla, there are some behaviors that our youth can show that we may not realize are mental health issues like substance abuse or bullying. Can you talk more about that?
As you know, substance use is a rampant problem in the United States and in the world in general. In the United States, we are facing an opioid epidemic in many parts of our country. However, having said that, it is important to note that experimentation is a part of adolescence. A lot of youth, kids experiment with drugs and alcohol. However, that can also be a signal that this could be leading to something more serious, or it could be a sign of something more serious. For example, there's a lot of kids who have depression and as a result self-medicate with drugs or alcohol. And I know there's a lot of kids with ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder who may have a low self-esteem problem, and that may also make them experiment or self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. It's important to be cognizant of that. And then in some instances, it's important to note that there may be a family history of addictive illnesses, like for example, alcoholism can run in families. And if child starts using substances that includes alcohol and drugs early, then the chance of it becoming a problem later on potentially is far greater. Obviously, there's a lot of consequences to substance use disorders that could impact their school, it can impact their physical health, their mental health, and also legal ramifications of it. Those are all obviously some things that we have definitely heard of.
How is bullying related to mental health issues?
Very important subject that as parents and caregivers of kids we need to be aware of, because it does happen on a daily basis. About 50% of us, or even more, have experienced bullying in schools growing up at some point. However, I think the statistics say that about 10% of kids experience bullying in a regular fashion. Bullying can be of various types. It could be intimidation, it could be a physical type of bullying, and recently, of course, there's also the cyberbullying component to it, where kids get bullied either on social media or on via email, other forms. So there's two things to take note of: kid who resorts to bullying, and there's the individual who's a target of bullying. In a lot of situations, if you suspect that your child is resorting to bullying, it's very important to get your child help as soon as possible, because it could be once again a sign of a larger problem underlying. For example, the kid could be very depressed, or the child could have experienced bullying or abuse himself or herself, or there can be other serious problems like self-esteem issues, or the child could be reacting to something going on at home or at school. So I think it's important to get the child evaluated once you suspect that's happening on a regular basis. The second aspect, I think, is the victim of bullying. These kids tend to be somewhat compliant. They seem somewhat be on a lower key, and typically the kids who resort to bullying, they pick these kids who have somewhat an amenable or kind of like a low-key personality, so to speak, because they think they're vulnerable and they can take advantage. I think being reassuring, being empathic, talking to your kid, asking them what's going on, what's bothering them. And then if it's getting out of control, it's very important to alert the school authorities. You can start with the school teacher, the school counselor. There are various ways in which bullying can be handled. There could be peer mediation, conflict resolution, and there are so many methods by which bullying can be tackled. I think it's a very important thing because it can lead to more severe forms of aggression and violence. Nipping it in the bud And earlier the better applies here too.
Dr. DeMarla, how do parents know if their child is getting bullied?
It's a tough question actually, because you have to be very attentive to your child because their feelings, their thoughts are constantly changing. But if an otherwise well-functioning kid is doing well otherwise, well-adjusted, is beginning to look depressed or withdrawn, is the behavior has changed to like the kid doesn't want to attend school, says that no, I don't like school, and you know that the kid used to like school, or their performance in school is somewhat declining. So these could be once again a signal that something's going on. The key is to ask. I think to be reassuring and to allow them to express what's going on. Most kids, when you ask them in an attentive and in a caring manner, they do tend to come out and tell you. At that point, it's important to alert the school authorities, whether it's a school teacher or a counselor or the school administration itself, to let them know that this needs to be addressed.
Thank you so much. If you think your child or someone you know needs help, please contact the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health at their 24/7 helpline at 1-800-854-7771. Your call is safe and confidential.